All right, welcome back in here to Live Now from Fox. I am Andy Mack. The search for Nancy Guthrie now entering its second week. The 84-year-old mother of Today NBC Today Show host Savannah Guthrie continues on in Tucson, Arizona. We're seeing more movement here throughout the weekend in this Catalina Foothills area as they're searching at her home, but also the home of her daughter, Annie, just down the road. So this is a live picture right now of what we're seeing, but very limited information coming in from law enforcement at this hour. Pima County saying that the investigation is ongoing. Follow-up continues to multiple locations. No suspects, persons of interest, or vehicles have been identified. No scheduled press briefings. If any significant developments occur in this case, a press conference will be called. So still kind of a standstill in this investigation. Let's be joined right now by retired New York Police Department Detective Michael Alcazar. Michael, thank you so much for joining us here on Live Now from Fox. And you've been following this case very fully, and they still have no suspects. They're still canvassing the area. At this point in today, week number 2, where does it stand in your eyes?
It sounds like they're revisiting the crime scene. I said before that they released the crime scene too soon. I feel like they might have had missteps there. I mean, if I was conducting this investigation, I would search her residence. I would search her family's residence, where she visits, right? That's one thing that we do in New York City. If we have like a missing person, we're going to search where they live. We're going to search where they frequent. And now we're seeing that they're visiting the daughter Annie's house. And we saw that they were removing brown bags, which indicates to me that that's DNA evidence, right? So they might, and they did that days later, which I think, again, they're kind of like a missed opportunity there. I'm glad they're doing it now. I saw they're searching the backyard. They're measuring like a manhole. I don't know why this wasn't done initially. I don't know if they got more information, but at least they're doing it. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, and you mentioned this video, and I wanted to put it up here because it looks like they're searching some sort of manhole, a septic tank kind of cover in the backyard. This is kind of our Fox flight team overhead of Nancy Guthrie's house at this point. What are they looking for in particular if they're looking at this point? And as you mentioned, a lot of people are asking why this wasn't done before, but in terms of this, would this have been one of the initial places that they should have looked?
Absolutely, Andy, 100%. Look at that thing. And it's big enough to fit a human body, right? So I don't know if they had cadaver dogs before. They seem to be looking inside with flashlight, looking for the depth. For things like this, like they did with the Rex Uriman case, they could use ground penetrating radar to detect if there's anything in there. These guys don't look like crime scene guys. These guys look like, to me, like investigators. I would have a crime scene team in there processing that scene. Again, you don't want to disturb it. You want to minimize contamination. It's interesting that they are looking at it now, days later. So something tipped them off, or maybe somebody said, maybe we should check this area because, she's a 140-pound woman. Unlikely that someone would take her out of there. I mean, it's absolutely possible, but would it be easier just to, hide her remains closer to the area, which is also a possibility. So, I'm glad they're doing it. They should have done that initially.
Yeah, and you mentioned how they kind of removed the crime scene tape. The family was actually granted the house back to them. Is it common for that to happen, for the house to be given back to the family, even though a missing person is still out there, has been unrecovered?
In my opinion, it was too soon, right? I'd like to keep the crime scene closed off to any kind of contact, again, because we don't want it contaminated. And we see now they revisited it, right? Media was in there. So now there's a lot of other DNA and other, footprints have been introduced to the crime scene. So not a good idea. I feel like perhaps maybe there was pressure from the community. This is a very affluent community, $1 million homes. Maybe they don't want an active crime scene there. I'm just speculating, but I can see where it goes in that direction. But as a law enforcement detective, I would have kept that open until I was completely satisfied that we recovered all and everything evidence-wise forensic wise regarding this case.
Yeah, that is very true. And obviously, kind of looking back, hindsight is 2020. When you're looking at this, they also said there are multiple locations. You can imagine that is the daughter Annie's house as well, where she was last seen with her daughter and son-in-law. In terms of how these two crime scenes are similar, are different, are they combing through Annie's house any different than they are through Nancy's?
No, they're going to look. I mean, if they're going to Annie's house, they're going to search it like they did Nancy's home. They're going to have to. They're going to have to do their due diligence, see if any kind of DNA evidence, any kind of fingerprints, right? Anything and everything inside that house, they're going to have to search.
Yeah, no, that is a very good point. And also, we heard about this ransom note, this deadline, as it passed on Thursday, and there's another one on Monday. In terms of if someone receives a ransom note, we know that TMZ got a hold of it. They sent it to potentially stations in the Tucson area. Is it common to have two sets of deadlines? What do you make of the ransom notes?
Yeah, it's pretty weird that they had two sets of deadlines. If you don't do it by this date, you had till this date. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't sound like it was carefully planned out. Maybe these people are not professionals. Maybe this was, again, I always had the theory that this might have been a burg robbery gone bad and they're thinking on the fly. That's one scenario. Or could be someone that Nancy knew, right? So it's very unusual. And you have the deadline on Monday, yet they made communication, they contacted yesterday. Right. So the family made that Instagram video. We don't know if he's going to make more contact today and there's going to be another video released. So it's kind of like up in the air.
Very up in the air. And they released that video on social media last night. Savannah Guthrie at the center between her two siblings, Annie and Cameron. I want to play this really quick for us, and I'll get your take on the backside. But let's listen in to Savannah Guthrie talking about her mother, Nancy Guthrie, still being disappeared.
We received your message and we understand. We beg you now to return our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her. This is the only way we will have peace. This is very valuable to us, and we will pay.
All right, you're just listening in there, Savannah Guthrie alongside her siblings saying, quote, "We will pay," in reference to potentially the millions of dollars, Bitcoin included in these ransom notes. Was this potentially encouraged from police to put this out? How does it work when a video like this surfaces when we're talking about a family kind of pleading with potential abductors to hopefully have their mom come home safely?
As an investigator, I'm hoping that they keep sending messages, right? We're hoping they're going to make a mistake, that we can forensically identify any kind of metadata, wherever this is coming from electronically. There's always that possibility. Interesting, though, in her statement, she said, "We understand." So there was some kind of a demand. I'm going to guess that the abductors made some kind of a demand, and she's confirming that she understands and they're willing to comply. And also she said that they're willing to pay, which was, she never said that before, right? Before, she was just asking for communication and her safe return and how important the mom is. So there was a lot of different nuances in this message. It was shorter, to the point.
Yeah, that was a good point. And we talk about some of the stuff that's in there. What's not in there is potentially proof of life. How important is that for investigators, for the family to understand that in this circumstance?
Yeah, we need proof of life because we want to know that you do in fact have the victim, right? We're not going to just send money or waste our time communicating with you if you're just some scammer, just like the other guy they collared the other day. Unfortunately, I feel like they probably did get some kind of proof, maybe not proof of life, maybe some kind of image of perhaps Nancy, who might be deceased now. So something was provided for them. They didn't release it to the public. And I think this is what prompted this message, to go out on Instagram.
And of course, that's on social media, but there's plenty of speculation, rumors, people playing their own type of investigators online, looking into different angles. As an investigator that has their hands on their case, do you have to really take a step back? Do you have to deconstruct it from the beginning to get a new vantage point on it? Because we are now 8 days in, and I imagine you have to almost second guess everything you already know. Is that accurate?
100%. 100%, because you're several days in and you still, according to them, they don't have a lead, they don't have a suspect. They're going to have to rethink their theories. They're going to have to think outside the box. Whatever they didn't consider, they're going to have to consider now, because whatever they did before is not working now, or so we think. maybe again, they're just keeping the information close to their vest. Maybe they are close to an apprehension. And again, we're not privy to it.
Yeah, and obviously you don't want to make any assumptions or speculation, but the family members, the last ones to see Nancy, and sometimes you hear about the statistics where people close to them are making some sorts of crimes like these. How are they going about questioning Savannah, Annie, Cameron, obviously the son-in-law? How are they going about to rule them out? Because they said everyone is kind of up in the air right now. They don't really have any ruling out. How are they going about speaking to the family right now?
Yeah, for sure. We have a thing in the NYPD we call the victimology, right? So we're going to go through Nancy's electronic evidence or history, any kind of disputes. We're also going to do that with Savannah, with the brother, with the sister, anybody close and had access to the victim. We're going to look at anything, any kind of financial, shortcomings, right? Any kind of disputes in the past, any police reports, anything witnesses can provide. They're going to have to investigate all that to establish some kind of a motive. And, hopefully they'll discover some kind of information that they didn't see before.
And would potentially they rule out people as suspects if they believe that to be the case, the family members, or would they kind of just let that be in place of this? Is there any benefit for law enforcement in that capacity?
Yeah, I mean, if the person they're looking at has really good, strong alibi, maybe with like video surveillance, they could, shelf that for now. I wouldn't rule out everybody. I would keep it open and look for any kind of information that might be coming in to this investigation.
That's a very good point. I do want to ask you, Michael, also, because we're also getting some of these images in, as this is very high profile, a national case. This from our Fox News digital team, Michael Ruiz, saying the sheriff leading this investigation from Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos responded at a Arizona Wildcats basketball game as the family pleads again with alleged ransomers. And he has been at the center of a lot of this investigative work, looking into all of these ransom demands, the evidence in there. Is this not sensitive? Is this insensitive for him to do that? Or obviously, can he? In your view, what do you see?
Listen, if I'm the sheriff or I'm the chief or the lead person in charge of an investigation, I'm going to stay out of social media. I don't want people seeing me in a baseball game, basketball game, in a movie theater. The priority should be this case. And I think he kind of dropped the ball there.
All right, very good, Michael. I just want to get your take on that. Anything else that you're looking at in terms of this case? Because it's so very fascinating. They aren't showing or alluding to the public that there's much information in terms of it. What else do you hope is gained over the next several days? Because we're already in week 2 of this disappearance, this investigation.
I noticed there wasn't a lot of Crime Stopper information or witness information that they might have received from the public. I think that's an invaluable tool. We have a lot of people out there that, our true crime community. If there's some kind of information that could provide, of course, you'll need some kind of a task force to vet all that information, but never underestimate that information because they could lead to something probative that can help solve this case. So I encourage people that if they see something, say something.
Yeah, and we know that the FBI is involved. President Trump is saying he's allowing the federal resources. How beneficial can that be for a small community potentially in southern Arizona to take the lead on this? How much can the resources benefit them?
I think it's great. I think the more hands on deck you have, the more experienced investigators you have, it will help hopefully have hopefully a resolution, not a nice resolution, hopefully a resolution to this case. Hopefully a nice one, hopefully a safe one.
Yeah, hopefully. And obviously there's still hope out there that Nancy Guthrie is returned home safely. You heard from Savannah saying we will pay in terms of this ransom demands. All right, Michael, thank you so much. I appreciate your time, your insight here on LiveNOW from Fox.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. All right, great conversation as always, breaking it all down, entering the second week of this disappearance of the 84-year-old mother of Today Show host Nancy Guthrie there. As you can see, more activity on the ground outside of the home of Nancy Guthrie, Pima County Sheriff. We did see people comings and goings of law enforcement at the home of Nancy, of Annie, her daughter as well, just down the road in this Catalina foothills area.